Hello and welcome to the dungeon. My name is Dan, and in today's review we're going to have a look at Crackdown 3, the Xbox exclusive, or console exclusive I should say, as you can should you wish to play on the Windows 10 store. For this review though, all the footage is based from my Xbox One S. So just to give you a bit of background, Crackdown 3 is the third of the Crackdown franchise and the only one that I've played so far, although it was very nice of Microsoft to give Crackdown away for free on their store, so if you're interested, check that one out too. It's an open world, superhero-esque explodathon with a lot of orb collecting and killing hundreds, if not thousands of bad guys. Crackdown 3 first got announced at E3 2014 if I'm not mistaken, and since it's now 2019 it has been in development hell for quite some time, and I believe there are some good reasons for that. So, getting into it, you may be familiar with the trailer for Crackdown 3 starring Terry Crews. If you're not, let me quickly show you a brief segment of it.
Listen up! Our target is New Providence. Now, she may look pretty, but this city is full of corporate gangsters, psychopaths, and butchers. We are diving head first into a viper's nest. But I promise you this, come tomorrow, we're all gonna be walking around wearing shiny snake skin boots. These sons of bitches wanna black out the world? Not on our watch. We are the goddamn agents.
So as you can see, very quirky, very charismatic, very in your face. Now, that is the intro movie for this game. If you're expecting more of what you just saw, even if you play as Jackson, then like me, you'll be sorely disappointed. That performance you will never see again in this game. Microsoft having sexual harassment survivor Terry Crews on the voice acting budget is similar to when they had Patrick Stewart in Oblivion. He's there in the first part of the game, and after that, not so much. Now, saying that, he will make a few lines from here and there as you play the game, including my personal favourite.
Fuck you, Gravity.
Yes, fuck Gravity indeed. My second favourite is I'm tired of this shit, and after playing Crackdown 3, I concur. So now that we've established that Terry Crews is barely in the game that Terry Crews heavily marketed, let's address the other elephant in the room. This game looks like it should have come out on the Xbox 360. Up close, it's ugly, it's bland. Looks like a game from last gen is all I'm saying. Now, to be fair, at times in this game, it does look very visually interesting. I think they went for a smart decision by going cel shaded, because then accuracy to detail isn't that important. And with all this shit happening on your screen, at times it is very pretty to look at. Lots of different neon lights, lots of blues, yellows, greens, all kinds of flashing stuff before your eyes. This is not a subtle game by any stretch of the imagination, so rather than try and do a few nice things, it tries to overwhelm you with stuff. Do they still make kids cartoons on Saturdays with like superheroes and agencies and that kind of thing? If not, then go back to the 80s and 90s when that stuff was golden. The art style is very much like that. Very over the top, very high octane, lots of explosions, just all in your face goodness. Now, one of the things this game does is that if you don't want to play as Jackson as your character, you don't have to. You can play as a bunch of other agents who are all likewise bland and barely say anything. You can even find the genetic code of other agents throughout the city, so in future campaigns, should you wish to play this more than once, you can play as a different character again. Now, they do have some slight differences in terms of how they play, which comes into the gameplay and collecting orbs to boost your skills. You've got 5 different skills, which is explosions, shooting, driving, agility, and strength. Collecting various orbs in different ways improves these skills, and when you level up a skill, just like in real life, you get to do something better. Strength is one of my favourites, since at the start of the game you can pick up various hobos and leftover doors. By the end, you can lift tanks above your head and throw them into the sea. If nothing else, this game makes you feel like an overpowered, superpowered god who can literally smack armies to smithereens. You'll notice from the footage that being very agile and jumping a lot is one of the key tenements to this title, so you'll definitely want to try and find as many of these green agility orbs as you can. Fortunately, there are hundreds of the things all across the city and they are very easy to find. Just jump into it and your agility gets that little bit better. If you want to improve your driving, then GTA style hijack a car, start driving, do some stunts, try and do some races, although you're the only one competing, so you're just racing against the clock. But most importantly, drive over the enemy. I cannot stress the importance of that enough. Driving over the enemy is literally the key to winning any fight where you have access to a car. But let's face it, mostly you'll be doing shooting and occasionally punching. Now the gun selection is very wide, so I will give it a mark for that. If there's any type of gun you can think of, chances are this game has it. No bows though. I thought bows were the new thing for video games these days, but I guess not. Then again, if this game started in 2014 or before, no wonder there's no bow included. And don't worry about ammo either. Ammo in this game is as abundant as the thousands of enemies you'll mow down. If you're starting to run low on a particular type, simply go to one of your respawn points and get another gun. It's that simple. The enemy variety is also pretty good. It's mainly bad guys, but bad guys in various different suits. And mechs. Lots of mechs. Robots too. Turrets, vehicles, that kind of thing. If there's any kind of sci-fi trope apart from maybe mutants, this game has it. They all use the same weapons that you use to, so you get a good idea as to how good the guns are when they shoot and kill you. Not that death is a particularly bad inconvenience, since you just come back straight away at your nearest respawn point and do it all again. Another point I will give this game for is it actually gives a reason why you can keep on respawning. It's because your genetic material is locked in some lab somewhere, and when one version of you dies, I guess another one gets grown in a vat and sent out on the same mission, often minutes later, so the wonder of tomorrow. Oh, and remember when Microsoft said that in this game you can blow down buildings and cause absolute carnage? You cannot, no. Doesn't matter what kind of firepower you're packing, no matter how many times you blow up the base of a building, it will not fall. In the single player campaign at least. Multiplayer we'll get onto later, and that's a different kettle of fish. Seriously though, if you're expecting GTA or Saints Row, think again. The vehicles are somewhat limited, there are no planes you can hijack, which I guess makes sense since you're supposed to climb various buildings. There's no radio station, so you're driving around in just general silence, I guess. There's no radio on this island paradise. And other than the two voices you hear in your ear telling you what to do, there's not really anyone to talk to. All in all, it's quite a lifeless city. Now, there are side quests, but you don't really talk to people doing it, you just get told what to do and do it, such as rescuing a block of militia people who are locked up, or destroying the enemy's vehicles, or destroying their chemical plants. A lot of destroying is the name of this game. And these side quests are somewhat important to progressing, since basically one evil corporation led by this one business lady, she has a collection of underlings who are all bosses in their own right. You have to destabilize a city, destroying their various structures and get their attention. Once you do, you get to fight them, kill them because it's quite easy, although there are 4 modes of difficulty and I'm playing it on normal. Once you've killed enough bosses, the head cheese comes out. Speaking of cheese, this game is extremely cheesy. Going again back to the Saturday morning TV cartoons, It's all end of the world, big explosions, big giant robots type of thing. Not to say that's a bad thing, I found it quite entertaining and fitting with the art style. All the various sub-bosses are interesting in their own way, although some more than others. Take this one guy who is a scientist and he has created this AI called Roxy, who he's somewhat in love with. It's kind of like when I watch Solo Star Wars Story. I kid, of course. I haven't watched that movie. No one has. There are audio logs you can find as well across the city if you look hard on your map, and they just give you a breakdown of the inner workings of this evil company that wants to destroy the world. All in all, this game can be summed up with this. Capitalistic corporation is evil because I guess they're capitalistic. You're the good guy, so no matter how much collateral damage you do, your ends justify the means. Speaking of audio again, there are a few nice futuristic techno-y soundtracks on this title. One of my personal favourites being the one where you have to do rooftop races and you're jumping through rings. It sounds nice, I suppose. But on the whole, nothing really stands out. Oh, but one thing about the art direction I do appreciate is every time you're introduced to a new boss, you get this messiah-like artwork which showcases them as a good person and then reverts to a bad person, like this. Now, a lot of games these days do that, and I think the reason for that is because it's rather cheap. Now, there are a few other movies in the game, mainly about you walking into a room, the enemy or the boss saying a few lines, and then he comes out or she comes out in the giant mech suit and the fight begins. There are a lot of mechs in this game. Although to be fair, you also get to control one in your car as well. The car, which can also go up walls, is pretty nifty. And to be perfectly honest with you, there's not really much to talk about the main campaign, mainly because you don't really factor into the story at all. You are just an agent, not even Jackson or one of the other ones. You're just an agent, you're told what to do, you do the thing you're told to do, and you move on to the next thing. Yes, the villains are quite interesting and add a bit of substance to it, but on the whole, it's just window dressing for you to create bigger and bigger explosions. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, I had a blast playing it, and I did enjoy taking down the enemy one henchman at a time. Also, I will give another point, that's 3 points so far, for the fact that when you rescue militia people, they will actually intervene in some battles and give you a helping hand. When it comes to stability of the game though, I've had generally an okay experience. Bearing in mind this is the Xbox One S version of the game, I have no idea how it works on Windows 10 and probably won't. Occasionally some enemies freeze, and not literally with an actual freeze shotgun, which is another cool weapon, but they just simply don't do anything. You can't shoot them, they don't move, they just stay there. Other times the enemy AI is so bad that in its car it just falls off a bridge and dies on its own accord. There's a lot of friendly fire here amongst the enemy, which is good for you, I guess. And there's one really annoying bug when I was playing towards the end when I was facing off the security boss, where I'm climbing up his tower, which is what you do for every boss it seems like, a lot of towers to climb, very Ubisofty. Anyway, I'm climbing up his tower, I go into an elevator onto the next floor, I then get shot off that floor onto the previous floor, but this time the elevator does not work, there's no option to climb it any other way. Even resetting the game doesn't help. I have to completely switch the whole thing off and start afresh. Very annoying. Also, when the villains are speaking and you have your two helpers in your ear speaking, sometimes the audio clashes and they're both talking at the same time, which probably isn't as designed. And for a game that looks kind of like this, the loading times are a little long. But some more positives, in the fact that this game is in co-op, so if you wanted to play with a friend, you can do that. There's plenty of agents to choose from. The environment is also a key factor in this, since there's plenty of things you can shoot enemies onto, such as toxic vats, or into electrical fields, force fields, into fire. You can freeze them, as I mentioned before, with a shotgun ability. Lots of different ways to kill the enemy. Also, it does have its own day-night cycle as well, so you can cruise around the city during the day and also at night. As for multiplayer, there's not really much here. There's two game modes that I've seen. I just played some of the deathmatch style thing of collecting the opposing team's flag when they die, and it is multiplayer team deathmatch, really. 4v4, nothing much more to it, but you do get to actually destroy buildings, or at least see them crumble. Now, it is rare that even today most video games don't do destructible terrain. I think Red Faction really is the leader in that, and it'll be some time before we get a new game of that franchise. So I do appreciate this game at least attempts it in some fashion, but we wanted more. We want that in single player. That would be epic. So, just to recap, this isn't a bad game in my opinion, others may disagree, but it's not a particularly good game either. It's a nice, fun time waste, I'd say. If you just want to kill stuff, drive around and blow shit up, this might be the game for you. There's a few funny lines here and there, but it really could have done with some actual dialogue between Terry Crews and other voice actors. The problem is that this type of game was done last gen much better in Saints Row 4 and even some other titles like the Prototype or Infamous series. It does feel like scraping the barrel type of game, and I suppose Microsoft have to bring out something this year, since last year was such a disappointment. So I played this game on Xbox Game Pass, and I suggest if you're interested then doing that the same as well. So for my final score, I am going to give Crackdown 3 the lofty score of 2.5 out of 5. It's an okay game, don't expect much from it. Anyway, that's all for me. Thanks for watching this video. I'll try and move on to the next game review now. You take care, blow some shit up, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.